Stephen A. Smith has spoken, and he's given his grade for the first half of the season for the Knicks. All that and much more on the Knicks Digest. What's up, guys? It's your boy Dariel. You guys know the drill. Queens forever. Queens get the money. Queens get the money long time, no cash. You know what's up. But Stephen A. Smith on his show First Take, he had Kendrick Perkins on, and they were talking about different teams, and they were talking about the first half of the season and giving out different grades for different NBA teams. When they started talking about the Knicks, Stephen A. Smith gave the Knicks a grade of a B. Stephen A. started praising the Knicks offensively with Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, saying that offensively it seems like they found their groove, they found their rhythm. But when it came to the defensive side of things, Stephen A. Smith was not too fond of how the Knicks looked. As far as opponents' points off of turnovers, they're averaging around 15 points. So they give up 15 points off of turnovers. Off of second chance points, they give up about 12.8, which is 13 points. Off of points in the paint, they're giving up about 49.7, which is pretty interesting. That number really stands out to me when you start thinking about it. Cat being their only big, not really having sufficient help with Precious Achiuwa and Ariel Hukporti. Jericho Sims got shipped out. But 49.7 opponent points in the paint, that's a pretty big number. And we can't rely on Cat all the time to be the interior presence. When one, Cat, we've mentioned it time and time again, how Cat would like to play his natural position, the 4 instead of the 5, even though Cat has experience coming from Minnesota where Rudy Gobert was a 5. And Cat's experience with Rudy Gobert playing the 5, you can make the argument that Cat's best season was last year when he was with the Minnesota Timberwolves and they went all the way to the Western Conference Finals and losing in 5 games to the Dallas Mavericks. Just to go off of what Stephen A. Smith said, giving them a grade B, I think is fine. I actually think that's fair. Coming right now, the Knicks are in third place right now in the Eastern Conference with only Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics ahead of them. The Knicks with a record of 36-18, 8-2 in their last 10. The Boston Celtics with a record of 39-16, 8-2 in their last 10. The Cleveland Cavaliers, which has completely shocked everybody, with a record of 44-2 and 8-2 in their last 10. So Cleveland, Boston, and New York, they each have the same exact record within their last 10, 8-2. And Cleveland Cavaliers, man, making that pickup of DeAndre Hunter at the trade deadline, giving out Karis LeVert and giving out Niang to the Atlanta Hawks. I think that might do wonders for the Cleveland Cavaliers. We might start having to take them a little bit serious. I'm going to give it a couple of games to see how they look after the All-Star break. After the All-Star break, it's pretty much you got to hit the ground running. You only have about like 25 to 30 games remaining of the season, so there really isn't like a waiting time of waiting to get into your groove, waiting to get into your rhythm, and that goes for all teams. It's not just for the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's for the Knicks as well, specifically Mikal Bridges. Like we all keep saying, we're going to need you to, at some point of the season, we want to see a really good window where you show us consistency. And I'm not talking about one game having 40 points like you did on Christmas and then the next game having 15 or 16 points or the next game having 11 points. We want to see a nice window, a nice stretch of games where you're having a consistent anywhere between 15 to 20 points, maybe grabbing 10 rebounds, where you're going to be able to start filling in seamlessly within the offensive unit. And as far as the NBA media, Stephen A. Smith was not the only one to talk about the Knicks. Colin Cowherd on his podcast more recently started talking about the Knicks, and he brought up a specific team whenever the Knicks go up against. He started talking about the Boston Celtics and the Knicks, and whenever the Knicks go up against the Boston Celtics, it seems like Boston just seems to have their number. More recently, on February 8th in the Garden, the Boston Celtics just came into the Garden and completely kicked our ass, winning 131-104. Jason Tatum, literally the first play of the game, Jason Tatum had an in-and-out move against Karl Anthony Towns at the top of the key, and then he continued to baptize Precious Achiuwa at the rim. Jason Tatum that game ended with 40 points, 13 of 26 from the field, 7 of 14 from three-point line, 7 of 9 from the free throw line, grabbing 6 rebounds, dishing out 4 assists in the 37 minutes that he played. Jason Tatum, it's a little interesting. If you guys saw the live that Matt and I did yesterday, during the live, especially on Fridays, we do talk about the Knicks, but we kind of we just flow and talk about different headlines, different storylines within the NBA. And one topic that we talked about, or we touched upon, was just Jason Tatum and how not underrated, but I guess he just doesn't get the credit that he's due. Jason Tatum, in my opinion, is 100% a top 5 player in the league. Now, he might be number 4 or 5, more likely number 5, but he's still in that top 5. So Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics last weekend coming into the Garden and whooping our ass, like it could have been a little message that they sent to the Knicks that, and of course the Knicks, their record going up against the better teams in the league, OKC, Cleveland, Boston. I'm forgetting about maybe a team or two, but the Knicks don't have a good record. And when you talk about the Knicks going up against every other team that's looked at as a good team, as a mid team, they have a decent record. But when you're going up against the teams that are the premier teams in the league, that's why a lot of people aren't really picking the Knicks to go far in the playoffs. Going back to the segment where Colin Cowherd had on his podcast talking about the Knicks, whoever his guest was, they started to break it down and just talking about why the Knicks have a little bit of difficulty with the Boston Celtics. And Colin Cowherd's guest specifically went into Jalen Brunson and how he's a little bit at a disadvantage, specifically going up against the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics with Jalen Brunson, it looks like they're just trying to hunt him, and they're really trying to get just bigger guards on him. If Drew Holiday is guarding Jalen Brunson, they're going to try and switch that and get Derek White on him. If Derek White is guarding Jalen Brunson, they're going to try and switch that and get Jalen Brown on Jalen Brunson. Jason Tatum could pick up Jalen Brunson at any given point of the game. So Boston Celtics, they do have the bodies to throw at Jalen Brunson. And Jalen Brunson, he's always had problems with just bigger guards that are taller than him, guards that are more athletic than him. And Drew Holiday is, I don't want to say taller and athletic, but he's 100% stronger. He's always getting the nod as one of the most underrated defensive players in the league. Derek White might be a little bit taller. Jaylen Brown obviously is taller, and Jaylen Brown this year is built like a Greek god, just putting on maybe like 10 to 15 pounds of muscle. So that was the game plan when Boston came into the Garden last weekend. They were looking to get Jalen Brunson in defensive switches where it made life hard for Jalen Brunson. And if you look at the game, Jalen Brunson, even though he ended with 36 points, 10 of 18 from the floor, 3 of 7 from three-point line, that's not great, converting all 13 of his free throws, dishing out 5 assists with no rebounds, 36 minutes. I think I did a post-game video for that game, and I remember talking about just, even though he had 36 points, it wasn't the same impact that Jalen Brunson normally has whenever he has a big game. And 36 points, that's a big game, especially going up against one of the better teams in the league, the Boston Celtics. Those 36 points, it just didn't have the same impact that Jalen Brunson would have if he had a 36-point game going up against another team. Karl Anthony Towns, 9 points, 3 of 8 from the floor, 2 of 2 from three-point line, 1 of 2 from free throw, grabbing 9 rebounds, dishing out 1 assist with 1 steal and 1 block, 28 minutes that he played. Now, Karl Anthony Towns, I mean, a lot could be said. It could be the sprained thumb. It could be the bone chip in his finger. Those might be all excuses, but you could also look at the fact at how Boston drew up the defensive schemes going up against Cat. Make sure that somebody is always in his shirt, somebody's always in his grill, making him put the ball on the floor, getting him aggravated. Boston Celtics, I don't want to say that they got our number, but it seems like whenever they play us, the Knicks, it just seems like they're not nervous. The Knicks only played the Boston Celtics twice. So the game that I just talked about, which was last weekend, and in the season opener. In the season opener, we lost 132 to 109. And the one thing that I remember talking about that game without even looking at the box score is Deuce McBride. Deuce McBride had 22 points off the bench. He was 8 of 10 from the floor, 4 of 5 from three-point line, 2 of 3 from the free throw, dishing out 2 assists in the 26 minutes. Deuce was definitely the bright spot of that game. And again, the excuses that we can make about the opening night going up against Boston, Mikal Bridges was acquired in the offseason. Cat was recently acquired maybe like a couple weeks prior to that opening night. So we were still implementing Mikal Bridges and Cat within the offense, Jalen Brunson. And then Jalen Brunson in that game had 22 points, 9 of 14 from the floor, 1 of 2 from three-point line, 3 of 3 from the free throw line, grabbing 1 rebound, dishing out 2 assists in the 25 minutes that he played. So Jalen Brunson didn't have a big night. Karl Anthony Towns had 12 points, 5 of 9 from the floor, 1 of 2 from three-point line, converting his only 1 free throw attempt, grabbing 7 rebounds, dishing out 3 assists, 24 minutes that he played. Mikal Bridges had 16 points, 7 of 13, 2 of 7 from the three-point line, missing his 1 free throw attempt, and dishing out 2 assists in the 35 minutes that he played. So Josh Hart had 12 points, 25 minutes he played, 4 of 6, 0 of 2 from three-point line. So if you're looking at the starting 5, you could just tell, just looking at the box score itself. I do remember watching the game, but looking at the box score itself, you could just tell that it might have been like a feel out game. And it was the first game of the season. So granted, Coach Tibbs and the coaching staff, they just wanted to see what they had. Obviously, it would have been nice to go into the Boston Garden and actually beat the Boston Celtics, the reigning defending champions, after getting their rings on ring night, all that stuff. It would have been great. But it's the first game. Mikal Bridges was acquired in the trade in the offseason. We just recently acquired Cat a couple weeks prior. So it was a feel-out game. We were just trying to see what we had, trying to implement Cat and Mikal Bridges and to see how we were going to go from there. But, I mean, it's not nothing. The Knicks losing against the Boston Celtics twice, it's not nothing, and it's definitely something that we got to keep an eye on. But it's just interesting to see all these different NBA media talking heads coming out and talking about the Knicks and giving grades and seeing where they fall within the NBA landscape. I personally would have thought that we were going to be hovering around the 4 and 5th seed the entire season. Now, we're at number 3 right now, so it's not that much of a difference between the 4 seed. But for the remainder of the season, depending on Mitchell Robinson coming back, depending on Cat with his sprained thumb and the bone chip in his finger and the knee, OG Anunoby with his foot, every NBA season is always going to come down to basically luck and health. Every NBA champion, they always say that one of the more underrated themes for the season is luck. You got to have a little bit of luck in order to get to the NBA Finals or win the NBA Finals. And I hate to say it, guys, but the Knicks and the Knicks organization, I don't think we've had the best luck. And I think that's not crazy to say based off our history. But we'll see what happens, man. But guys, that's it for today's video. I want to say thank you so much for checking it out. Leave it in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought of Stephen A's grade for the Knicks, giving the Knicks a B. Let me know what you guys thought of Colin Cowherd talking about the Knicks and talking about the Knicks specifically matching up with the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics giving us a slew of just problems defensively and offensively. But you guys know the drill. You guys know the vibes. Jalen Brunson for all the MVPs. The Deuce is loose for co-MVP. OG Anunoby for a speedy recovery. Hopefully you're in Cancun or Antigua or Turks and Caicos, somewhere just soaking up the sun on the beach. Taj Gibson for president, always and forever. Your boy Dario, Mr. New York or nowhere, Mr. Queens or nowhere. Mr. Queens get the money. Mr. Queens get the money, long time, no cash. Queens forever. I'm out.